In a world where beasts and humans coexist, creatures that can be tamed and have the power to destroy the sky and the earth, and at the top of this place, there is a man named Su Liang, who received the favor of the lunar butterfly. It is an extremely rare beast that only exists in legends and can go back in time. In the boy's eyes, you can see the favor he received from the gods. And so he received the title of Lunar King and is admired by everyone. In an ordinary house, there is a boy on his computer. The Lunar King attracts a lot of attention and is on top of the world for those who are his followers. However, the boy is sweating cold, saying that the only thing more incredible than this is that he, Su Liang, is the so-called Lunar King. He's so crazy because he just transmigrated to this world. Originally, he was from Earth, and as soon as he arrived, he received fragments of the owner's memory. It seems that the real Lunar King was sleeping, fell out of bed, and hit his head. The protagonist thinks it would be amazing if he really had become the so-called Lunar King, but he asks to open the status window and sees that he is nothing more than a one-star tamer. His companion is the shimmering beast with the power of moonlight. He starts cursing the system because he knows very well that this butterfly is nothing legendary. The problem is that everyone has a lot of expectations for this boy. How is he going to handle all this pressure? Not to mention that the original owner of the body drew a lot of attention and everyone believed he was strong. He told everyone that he possessed the reincarnation butterfly that only appeared in dangerous situations. When he performed, the girls went crazy, saying he was amazing and handsome. Even face-to-face with the 8-star Empress Kangyu, the guy didn't back down. Our protagonist has no idea how this guy was so crazy. He decides to let it go and takes a look at his beast. The so-called shimmering butterfly appears. In his eyes, traces of the gods can still be seen. And when it approaches his face, he says it is cute, but his expression quickly changes upon realizing how useless it is. He knows that a great battle awaits him in 3 years, but the bigger problem is that he can't even beat the people at the academy. If he doesn't at least get a hack in the system, it will be impossible for him to attain the title of Lunar Emperor. That's when he remembers a memory from the body's previous owner and wonders if he also has it. He pronounces Lunar Book, and the item appears in his hands. Looking at it, he is impressed, wondering if they are illustrations. On the first page, several moon-related low-ranking creatures can be seen. When he combines all of them from one page, he can get a new one as if it were a card game. It seems the previous owner didn't care about this book because it said the lunar butterfly was weak. He thinks the guy was kind of stupid. However, now he is motivated since he will study at the Lunar Light Academy, a place where it will be easy to find this type of creature. Leaving the room, he knows he cannot get into fights and must focus on getting stronger for the next 3 years. In the advanced dormitory for tamers, a little bunny is being fed and someone says it's to help it grow a lot. Then a girl in red clothes named Su Jing tells her to stop mingling with weak creatures or they will get attached to her. The girl named Bei Yor says she won't make a contract with the bunny, she's just having fun. However, Su Jing says that as one of the elites, she can't be around weak creatures or strong ones won't want to make a contract with her. She enthusiastically says that the girl must be like the Lunar King who only touches extremely strong creatures. That's when something catches the bunny's attention. While the girl says she is sure the lunar butterfly is only with the king because he doesn't smell like a weak creature. At that moment, the rabbit runs to someone's feet. When they look to the side, they are shocked. They see the Lunar King all stylish and blush. To them, those eyes are full of oppression. The two think that just one look from him can make anyone submissive. But in fact, he's just scared because he's seeing a girl with cat ears. At that moment, he starts to remember that the Lunar King avoided contact with anyone. He goes to the Moon Pavilion. Looking up, he knows it's a place with many low-level creatures. If he can unlock several in the book, he will get new ones. Walking around, he sees some particles and touches one of them. Then it appears that new beasts and illustrations have been unlocked. From the moon element itself to a juvenile fox, a shadow rat, and even a moonlight fish. Su Liang is impressed that he can also see battle information, and now he's excited because the sly guy has a hack. Something catches the fox's attention and Su Liang stands still. He finds himself face to face with a large door. He feels that the place emanates a cold energy and that all the creatures seem to move away. Slowly, he opens the door, and in the center of the room, something catches his attention. On top of the altar is an albino deer with a purple horn. The creature is all graceful as Su Liang approaches. The system warns that this is the white flower deer, the most beautiful creature of all the mid-ranking creatures, and that it is also extremely selective with whom they associate. Our boy thinks the system is exaggerating with this information, while the guys next to him say it's ridiculous to spend so much money to support a mid-ranking creature. They comment that they've never seen another beast treated like this. The guy with brown hair comments that maybe it's because of the appearance, and at that moment, the deer looks back. The boy says it's just because the rich like to show off. When suddenly he gets a water jet on his head and gets all confused. The deer stares at the two, and they run away. One of them comments that mid-ranking creatures have intelligence similar to humans, so it's better to get out of there. The protagonist, observing the creature, thinks that what the guy said really makes sense, until their eyes meet. Something catches the creature's attention as it thinks about the eyes he has. She approaches and starts walking around him. Gets very close to his eye and starts staring. All of a sudden, the lunar book appears in his hand, with the message that a new beast was unlocked and the number of illustrations increased. That's when something catches Su Liang's attention. That wasn't a mid-ranking creature, but a supreme-ranking creature capable of destroying a kingdom. A type of monster with more consciousness and intelligence than any human and that dominates all animals. That thing is basically a nuclear bomb in the middle of the academy. If that creature decides to do anything, this whole place is destroyed. That's when he comes to the conclusion that if she is there, it means the academy knows she won't harm anyone. And since those guys were expelled just by being splashed with water, apparently she has no intention of doing harm. However, he also can't rule out the possibility that she is hiding her strength from everyone. Unlike him, who everyone thinks is strong, but is actually extremely weak. He looks at her, who is looking at the plaque that says she is a mid-ranking creature. They stare at each other. He knows very well that she is aware she is deceiving everyone. But then he gets startled. She shifts to an aggressive stance, and he imagines she's afraid of her identity being exposed. With that, he starts speaking loudly, saying that this mid-ranking creature is so beautiful that he couldn't move. He knows that the most important thing for now is not to become an enemy of something like that. He decides to walk around pretending to admire other things, until the door closes and he runs out of the place. While the deer stands there, remembering our boy's eyes and wondering who he was to have those eyes. She goes to her bed and pulls out a phone with a wallpaper of a female deer. She searches for a boy in the city with crescent moon eyes, and she gets startled upon discovering something. Meanwhile, in the tamer's dormitory, he is exhausted, wondering how the school dares to keep a T-Rex in the middle of the zoo. Even worse, since despite that appearance, that creature is much more dangerous than a dinosaur. Luckily, he met her there because if it were in the wild, he would need another supreme-ranking beast to get out alive. And the worst part is that his creatures are the lowest of the lowest rankings. That's when he realizes that the creatures he touched are the ones he can see the abilities of, and he gives this silly speech saying that everything is in the palm of his hand. He decides to go back to confirm this with another beast from the academy. However, on the way he sees that rabbit and wonders if it's the same one he saw in the morning. He finds it strange that the creature is so calm because lunar monsters are usually more active at night. The rabbit is looking all cute and calm at him, and the protagonist wonders if it's another extremely powerful creature by chance. He calmly decides to touch it to get information. As soon as he touches the creature, nothing happens, and he discovers that it's a creature that doesn't have a lunar physique. This means it can only strengthen on a full moon night, and he realizes that it's weaker than low-ranking creatures. He thinks he was an idiot for thinking he would find two extremely strong monsters. That's when someone drops some food and a phone falls to the ground. Something catches the protagonist's attention, and he doesn't know that he's being watched by Bei Yor. She wonders if she is really seeing the Lunar King petting a weak creature. With that, she returns to the dormitory. Su Jing asks what happened, and the cat girl questions what the chances are that the Lunar King actually likes small monsters. Her friend is confused by this sudden question, but then she runs off, saying she was just kidding. Upon entering her room, she starts thinking about it, remembering the gentle expression the Lunar King had with the little rabbit, and she wonders in a very gentle and well-behaved way if she was the only one who knew that side of the Lunar King. Su Liang knows he was seen doing that, but he doesn't seem to care much, thinking the girls might like it. He decides to go to his room because it's time to sleep. However, something catches his attention. At the window, there's an extremely dangerous demon. He gets scared since he has no idea who this terrifying creature is. The problem is that it might not be a human, but a humanoid beast. The most important thing is that he feels oppressed. As she approaches, he can't even comprehend her strength, until suddenly she kneels in front of him and gives her greetings to the Lunar King and the Lunar God. He starts looking through his memories, realizing he should know her. He knows she's one of the 4 moons that belong to the order he created. However, he doesn't know exactly who she is standing in front of him. He doesn't say anything, and the poor girl is sweating cold, thinking that even the Lunar King's silence is scary. He has no idea what her name is, so he just asks what she wants. The girl says that the Black Lunar Order is very active in the central region, especially near the Palace of the Gods. Zulian, who has no idea what she's talking about, he turns his back and she asks what the problem is. Our boy tells her to be quiet because he's trying to remember things. After a while, he looked up everything he needed on the internet and says he remembered. Now he realizes that it's not that he didn't know. It's that the owner of the body didn't care about it. She tries to explain that the Black Lunar Order is not a problem. The problem is the Palace of the Gods getting involved. That name, yes, catches the protagonist's attention. The Lunar Palace of the Gods is a place that houses thousands of legendary beasts. However, although they have been strong for 1,000 years, the Order of the Double Moon changed everything in the last 3. He explains that the Order of the 4 Moons wants to attack. The only problem is that there will be no one to defend him. Zulian remains silent and says that she can move forward since there is no danger when he is under the moonlight. The girl gets excited, saying she understood very well. Here's a famous phrase from the Lunar God, and everyone believes that because of the butterfly, he is not at any risk. With that, she leaves and our boy remains silent. He has no idea how the owner had the courage to say such cringe things. The worst part is that he would walk around saying random phrases. However, because of the crazy followers, these phrases started to become famous. Out of nowhere, he would turn and say he felt the presence of the lunar god, or that the moon favored him, or that the moon would rise and that the moon was bright. He is lost because he just transmigrated and has all these problems in his head. At least it seems he doesn't have to worry about the palace of the moonlight. The only problem is that he doesn't have the real butterfly, so he is basically without any bodyguard. If he gets attacked in this situation, he will die in a foolish way. That's when he remembers something. After having unlocked so many creatures in a book, he can at least get a new one. It states that he can initiate the first exchange and he gets excited. The system warns that the creature he receives is by chance. As soon as it appears, he can register it as a creature or return it to the system and receive some attributes. Our boy gets excited because this way he will be able to strengthen himself and not just have creatures. However, he is anxious to get at least a supreme ranking 1 and no longer fear anything. With that, he begins to pray to all the gods that exist. Excited, he says he will seek the supreme beast. He clicks the button. Energy flows from the book and a light blinds him. The pages start to turn and the system warns that a creature has been unlocked. He is anxious until he receives a translucent moonlight. It's a high-ranking creature, but it seems to have support abilities. He knows that for other people, this would be a good creature. However, he is the lunar god, so something like this doesn't make much difference. Considering the crisis he is involved in, it can't be solved with just a high-ranking creature, and so he returns it to the book. The system warns that he will be rewarded with the creature's strength, gaining enough experience to become a 1-star tamer and almost reach 2 stars. He gets excited for a second, and then immediately feels disheartened because he knows it makes no difference. He is angry that the previous owner of this body could have made contracts with several strong monsters. However, he chose not to do any of that to stay with the butterfly. That's when, before going to sleep, he realizes he made a foolish decision. Even though the creature wasn't strong, it was better than the butterfly he has now. That kind of decision seems strange to him, and our boy questions whether his actions and personality are still influenced by the other guy who owned this body. That's when he shakes his head, saying he's going crazy for believing anything from that guy. He throws himself on the bed, saying that next time he gets a high-ranked beast, he will make a contract. At least tomorrow he can go to the pavilion to gain more experience points and collect everything he missed. Remembering the white deer, he comes up with a plan to bring something to see if he can touch her. The next morning, the deer wakes up and gets startled. The whole place is empty. She wonders if it's going to be demolished, and a girl approaches, saying that when she goes to the palace of the gods, she will live a better life. She seems sad and tells the deer to obey her new owners. The poor deer is scared that she was sold, especially to the palace of the lunar god. Walking around, 2 girls dressed appropriately for work say it's ridiculous that the lunar god studies there. The blue-haired girl tells the other not to cause trouble and to focus on the mission. She turns, saying she knows they're only there to take the white flower deer. Then a green-haired girl named Sing, he introduces herself as the owner of the pavilion. The 2 women introduce themselves, saying the night is eternal, which makes King he think these 2 are very arrogant. She turns and tells them to come in to see the creature. However, the blue-haired one says she has already seen it online and just to bring it quickly, as they will pay 10 times the price. That leaves King startled. Knowing that the white deer is extremely rare, she decides to take advantage of the opportunity and says that this white deer is a descendant of the original creature of the pavilion owner. That's why they have been treating her as a supreme creature and 10 times the price is not enough. The red-haired girl says that being a descendant doesn't change the fact that she is a mid-ranking creature. But her sister tells her to shut up and asks if 20 times the price would be enough. That surprises the sister and interests the pavilion owner. However, the red-haired girl approaches her sister and says that 20 times is beyond the money they have. But the blue-haired girl has a creature called the Moon's Voice that is warning about a great danger that is about to arrive. They need this creature to protect the palace of the gods, and that's why she's willing to increase the price even more. But at that moment, she feels something, a pressure that would crush anyone. She knows that the only being capable of doing that is the Lunar King who is approaching. She starts trembling, wondering why he is there at the pavilion, and her red-haired sister can't even react. She realizes that the girl's sanity has been shattered. She keeps trying to communicate, telling her not to look him in the eye. However, she turns, gets startled, and faints. She stands there very calm and composed, saying she saw him up close. Su Liang approaches the 2 and gives them a stare. With that, they bow their heads while he stands there. The poor girl feels she doesn't have the courage to raise her head. It's as if she were trying to go against the presence of a true god, while the 2 are terrified that he might do something to them. He's there, not knowing what to say and not understanding why no one is moving, until King he comes running and calls for him. She approaches, saying it's an honor to see his face in person. She shows a tattoo on her arm, saying that 3 months ago, she joined the Brotherhood of the Double Moon. With that, she explains that those girls are messengers from the palace of the lunar god, who are there to buy the deer, while she comments that she wants to sell it for an extremely high price because of its bloodline, and because it is beautiful, Su Lang is struck by the realization that no one has any idea how powerful that creature is. Something so rare cannot be sold for any amount of money. With that, he turns and the sisters finally relax, until he tells them to disappear because that was not a place for their kind. He says the moon is about to fall. King, he looks at the sky, thinking it's too early, there's no moon yet. However, she interprets it as if he were saying the moon was literally going to fall. In other words, it was a premonition of a disaster that was about to happen. The blue-haired sister realizes that he seems to know everything that is happening with the Palace of the Gods, when suddenly the redhead decides to say that the moon is not really going to fall. However, she stammers with her words. The crowd says she shouldn't speak against the person chosen by the moon god himself. And at that moment, she is startled when our boy is just staring with his moonlit eyes. She starts trembling and he walks away. She falls into the arms of her sister, who thinks that if the moon god is involved, they will have to forget about that creature. However, as soon as he starts to leave, he knows he spoke about impending calamity. While King, he remembers that the girls said the moon would never fall. Seeing the humiliation that girls received from the king, she says they indeed fell long ago, and the only eternal moon is the one the Moon King sees. Our guy finally relaxes, thinking everyone believes he has some power and has his advantages. He doesn't know when he will be exposed, but at least for now, the deer must be calm. Meanwhile, the staff is emptying the hall. The deer is there, telling them to stop taking all their things, and the people are confused by this attitude. The blonde girl gets emotional, saying that apparently she doesn't want to let go of the caregiver. She hugs her head, saying she is beautiful, and that she will visit her while the deer just wants her to let go. The woman goes to her bed, saying that that too has to be removed. However, underneath everything, she finds a cell phone, magazine, and mirror and wonders why a beast has those things. The deer is scared, saying her history will be exposed. She comes to research a lot of things about the Moon King. With that, she gets angry, saying she'll have to protect that, and decides to turn into a demon jumping towards the woman. The cell phone is thrown away and falls right into someone's hand. When she turns around, she gets scared. Our boy is at the door and everyone recognizes him. Now she's worried, knowing it was the person who couldn't see that. As soon as he takes a look, he gets scared. The deer went to hide while he sees she was reading some manhwas about beasts and humans. This is going down the forbidden path, but hey, the Chinese man are unstoppable. Su Lang then throws the phone away, saying the sale is canceled and everyone should leave. And he warns that at sunset, the people from the double moon will send someone to buy this place. People are shocked that he wants to buy the whole place. However, Su Lang is excited. The strategy was to get several low-ranking creatures, but who would have imagined that he would have the chance to get one of the supreme rank? In this case, the best strategy is a tactical retreat. People are all confused about what's going on there and comment that no one imagined that the Moon King himself would cancel everything. The woman, on the other hand, says she's more curious about what was on that phone that the king looked at. However, at that moment, the deer goes there and grabs it with her mouth and runs away. She passes by all the beasts, thinking that this damn king heard her entire identity, and even the history. He's trying to escape, but she's not going to let him leave this pavilion. With that, she commands him to stop and says she knows very well that he saw everything. Listening to her voice, he realizes it's a girl, and now that reading makes sense. She warns that if he reveals the secret to anyone, she won't let him go. Seeing him stop, she wonders if she managed to at least threaten him. However, Su Lang says she doesn't need to worry about intimate secrets being revealed. She looks peculiarly scared when he mentions that she caught his attention. However, she replies that she's not afraid just because he's the Moon King. If he tells anyone, she'll run wherever he is and finish him off. Su Lang knows that creatures can sense when their names are spoken nearby, a skill all supreme-level creatures possess. He then asks if she'll appear next to him every time he mentions her name. She angrily shouts yes. However, she ends up wondering why he spoke like that. With that, all romantic, he approaches, saying it's their secret. He gives a little smile and leaves, saying she should remember that. However, before he leaves, she tells him to wait and warns him to be careful with the full moon. Su Lang turns around and says he understands, then leaves. She stands there thinking about what he said. Su Lang is sweating, wondering if he managed to deceive a supreme beast. I'm sweating that this supreme beast doesn't turn into a woman soon, for God's sake. However, he smiles when he realizes her biggest concern is having her history exposed. The only thing he finds strange is this information about being cautious with the full moon. If she believes he's the moon god and said that something strange is indeed happening. Back at home, he wonders what will happen next. And the biggest problem is that he's without any bodyguards. If that's the case, the most important thing is to increase his team. Meanwhile, at the lunar god's palace, a place known to be ruled by the 10 princesses. Following the work, I'm sure they're all ugly and extremely thin. Number 4, who clearly lives up to what I said, asks if the king really said those words. The girls say yes, and she says they should just adjust and prepare then. However, the other women at the table start cursing, saying she's wrong. One in red armor says his appearance at the pavilion shows there's something there. They all conclude that there must be at least one monarch-ranking creature. And one who is bald says apparently something is about to happen that not even the lunar palace will survive. People want to know if the 4th princess will cooperate with them. She questions if they really believe that when he signs a contract with the monarch, they'll still beat him. No one responds and she asks if they are afraid. Until apparently it wasn't a woman, a guy says not only the Moon King is favored by the moonlight. After Su Lang used all of his group's money to buy beasts from the academy, people from the north started questioning what he was up to. Most thought he would absorb weak creatures to regain his energy, a sign that the monster inside him was about to awaken. Because of these rumors, people in the north were very uneasy. However, the person they feared so much was in the room playing gacha, releasing new creatures. I want to know why he released Peppa Pig. At least he's excited to have received a high-ranking creature. Even with the pavilion's help, that's all he's been able to receive. Low or medium-ranking creatures are useless for anything other than trading for points. And even though he said he would accept a contract with the next high-ranking creature, this moon in the lake seems to be a support type. The body's owner has no memory, and there's nothing about her on the internet. He finds it bizarre that there are patches that aren't in the encyclopedia yet. Knowing he received the letter, he decides to take a look at the lunar book. The book explains that this creature has the ability to absorb any shock or fluctuation and store all energy within it. He's impressed that she apparently is 13,000 years old. This means she's older than the lunar palace itself. That's why there's no information about her in the current encyclopedia. But that's where he gets an idea. If it's a creature no one knows, he doesn't need to worry about people thinking it's weak. Since the information was lost, no one will have any idea if she is strong enough to be a creature of the king. And in the end, for him who can't fight, maybe this ability is good. With that, he decides to close his eyes and sign the contract. He tells the sparkling butterfly to return, and the next second, he finds himself in a lake. Below him, her reflection is in the water, and he feels a different sensation from other high-ranking creatures. Now this is his second pet, and he hopes it will at least help with something, especially since the night of the full moon is approaching. On that night, a guy watched the moon and wondered why he was chosen to patrol there. He received information that the Moon King would make a move that day and was confused. However, as he was considered the best tamer of the Black Moon, he had no choice. However, observing the protagonist's house from afar, he was afraid of being noticed and dying the next second. Meanwhile, our boy was returning from the pet's consciousness. The butterfly seemed excited and the lake girl seemed to be asleep. Since it was the night of the full moon, he decided to go out and see what was happening. As soon as he left his room, he saw everyone running and calling for their pets. He was confused, but soon noticed it had something to do with the danger of that day. At that moment, an explosion occurred and the whole place shook. He approached the window, wondering what it was. From afar, smoke was rising. At least he smiled, realizing he wasn't the target of it. The guy who had been watching him was lying on the ground, attacked. He couldn't believe it. It was supposed to be just a simple lunar rabbit. However, it was gigantic and had a powerful aura. The rabbit looked to the side, saw the guy, and moved to strike. He noticed in time, and the attack exploded another place. In the dormitory, everyone was scared. Meanwhile, Sol Yang wanted to understand why this was happening. In another part, several creatures were running in the pavilion. They stopped in front of a door. From inside, the white deer shouted, asking what was happening in the middle of the night, and ordered the creatures to go back to their beds. The organizer was there, frightened by all this mess, while the deer lay in bed wondering if he would really call for her tonight. In the middle of the city, the rabbit was there fighting the guy. He disappeared and suddenly started laughing, saying she actually had some power. He had summoned 2 pets, saying he didn't want to use them against her. He warned her to be careful because if the Moon King got angry, she could be killed. However, she didn't seem to care and went towards him. He used the 2 pets to protect himself, and the barrage swept through the city. The 2 creatures were torn apart, but the skin absorbed the debris, and the next second they were back. The guy realized the rabbit was strong but slow and not very intelligent. Seeing that his pets didn't die, they certainly weren't of a supreme rank. And if the Moon King hadn't appeared, it seemed she wasn't involved with him. With that, he jumped from the creatures and allowed them to absorb moonlight. They merged and transformed into a black fish with lunar eyes. Immediately, he felt a pain in his chest and told them to stop absorbing. This is because any tamer has to be careful how much energy their pets absorb or they'll explode themselves. However, he was excited. At least now he could test maximum power against some creature. With that, he stretched out his hand and said it wasn't just her who entered berserker mode under the full moon. A shark attacked, and the attack once again exploded across the entire city. Meanwhile, the teachers were taking the students to shelters. There, they were wondering who had the courage to attack the academy and why. Another commented it was ridiculous considering everyone knows the Moon King resides there. At that moment, he came running by. The woman told the student to wait until she noticed it was the Moon King himself. He just turned around looking disheveled and said the moon was about to rise. Strangely enough, even though he only had a crossbow, he was confident about the moon's light. It seemed that his body really reacted differently in this situation. The previous owner might have said something like, "The eyes of the moon are upon him." The shark guy was there in the middle of the city. He was sure that the attack had been enough. However, his monster seemed to be in agony, and he was startled. The rabbit had risen and he couldn't believe she had resisted. While the rabbit stared at him, frightened, someone commented that it was very scary. It was Bayur, saying she really wanted to watch this while her friend said it was too risky. However, she said she was in the dormitory to see this kind of fight anyway. until she got a slap on the head. She ended up with a bump on her head but wondered why that creature seemed familiar. Sujing said it was at least a mid-ranked rabbit monster. The strange thing was its size. They both were startled. The rabbit grabbed the shark by the ears and slammed it to the ground. The Black Moon guy realized his creature was going to lose and authorized using a technique called Moon Devour. The monster roared into the sky and a pressure hit the rabbit, leaving her all twisted. The guy smiled, saying that this was impossible to beat. However, the rabbit seemed to be absorbing the energy she had sent out. The guy realized that if a creature that size still had a technique, it wouldn't be possible to win. Bai Yuer seemed impressed and Sujing told her to get out of there. With that, she threw her to the ground and called the fox to create a shield for the two. The creature let out a roar, creating an explosion that shook the entire city. Man, it was atomic. When the smoke cleared, the little shark had disintegrated, but the place had indeed been desolated. The rabbit noticed something, and nearby, the barrier around the two had fallen. Sujing commented that that's why they had survived. Bai Yuer had also summoned her creature. Seeing it staring, she ran to the tiger and told it to stop, drawing the rabbit's attention. However, the rabbit was just staring at the three of them, who already thought everything was over. Strangely, it stood still. Sujing wondered why the creature wasn't moving. She noticed it seemed to be looking directly at Bai Yuer. With that, the monster went to the rubble and pulled the guy out of everything. The guy was angry, asking if that was a high-ranked creature, and told it to let him go because the Moon King should be coming. The rabbit slammed him to the ground and was about to crush him. Bai Yuer wanted to stop the creature, but Sujing said they shouldn't get involved. However, the girl replied that it was wrong to let the guy die just like that. Sujing told her to at least be a bit careful. When she was gathering the courage to approach, someone told her to stay put. At that moment, she called upon the name of the moon god. And our boy, all stylish, said that this was not a fight for her and walked away, saying the moonlight would converge. A bunch of circles formed around him and they wondered if he was even human. So Liang found himself under the rabbit. He knew the size and shape of that creature didn't match any supreme creature. This meant there was only one possibility. 10 minutes earlier, when everything happened, he was just observing. He was sure it was impossible to win against that. Even a 4-star creature had been destroyed in a second. The plan was to at least touch it to see its rank, but it was too risky, so maybe it was better to give up. However, he realized the monster wasn't attacking anyone. He knew it was impossible for a creature to be both high-ranked and irrational at the same time. Considering all this, he approached knowing there was only one possibility. The fool lying on the ground thought that since he had been killed, he had received some sort of favor. However, Sol Yang just collected the body and told them to take it away. With that, he left and Sol Yang found himself face to face with the rabbit. He then said it was impossible for a creature to go berserk in the moonlight and still remain conscious. This meant it was a common monster acting on instinct, and only low-level creatures act on instinct. He then extended his hand and asked if she was looking for him. From afar, the two girls wondered what this madman was doing, and Bai Yuer told him to be careful. The rabbit was going to charge at him, and they thought the poor guy would be crushed. He was confident in his conclusion, but still hesitant. At that moment, a drop fell into the lake. The creature's attack seemed to have ceased, and he was embraced by the girl from the lake. Everyone saw it, and the guy lying on the ground was sure it was one of the mysterious ancient creatures, something he had seen in the Black Moon intelligence books. He slowly opened his eyes and got excited when he realized he had managed to stop the attack. The problem was that the girl from the lake wouldn't be able to absorb another attack like that. At least now, knowing what the creature was, he was sure he didn't need to worry anymore. He already knew very well who it was. That's why he didn't attack Bai Yuer. And since he doesn't have a lunar body, he ends up absorbing all the power of the moon without being able to control it. Suddenly, a group approached, asking if they were late. The guy on the ground said they weren't late. It's just that their arrival now was insignificant. The Moon King had awakened, which meant everyone was going to die. The people seemed scared. Noticing everything, Sol Yang knew he had to convince them to fear the boy. He asked the rabbit if she was there for him, and she immediately lowered her head. The people seemed confused, and he told her he would guarantee the moon power she so desired. He got even closer and said he would meet her at the place they first met. She agreed, turned, and left. The guy on the ground got up angrily. He had been beaten and hadn't even seen the king's power. He then told the Moon King that he had been attacked by the rabbit, so why tolerate it? However, he just turned and asked if it had really been an attack. The guy was impressed that his eye changed according to the moon. He just hoped he wouldn't fall in love as well. The poor guy started to remember everything he saw and fell to the ground, thinking he had seen the true emperor. His motivation was gone. It was time to go back because he had no other option. A strange figure told him to keep disguising himself in the northern region. With that, he woke up in bed and realized he was in the academy hospital. That was a way for the high-ranking people to send messages in dreams, which meant everything had been true. The problem was that he had no idea how he would deal with the Moon King. Meanwhile, in his room, the protagonist woke up with that little rabbit staring at him. He was startled and asked what she was doing there. That's when he remembered he had ended up making a pact with that boy. After everyone left, he returned to the place he first met her, since that creature always transformed on the full moon, and it was too risky to leave her wandering around. And so he made the pact. However, that panel with two creatures under the rank didn't seem worthy of a king. At least now he felt safer on full moon nights. But seeing her all cute at his feet, he thought maybe not that safe after all. He decided it was time to go to the pavilion. However, when he opened the door, everyone was running and he was confused. Some girls were talking about trying to make a pact with the supreme rank creature. He was scared and searched the internet. There he saw that a spear known as the crescent moon was the only supreme type and had fallen today in the northern region. The problem was that it was so difficult to tame that even the Empress or the 10 moons couldn't do it. As he walked around, he was being observed without any idea. The pursuers were impressed. He was heading in the opposite direction of the spear, ignoring the opportunity. However, our boy had no intention of trying. He would embarrass himself in front of hundreds of people, or worse, the weapon itself would defeat him with its energy. Not to mention, he had something much easier, much closer. The white flower was lying in her room until the door opened. She turned around and he said hi, mentioning it had been a while since they last saw each other. She asked what he was doing there, and if he wasn't going to check out the crescent moon. Su Lang said she must be addicted to the internet to already know about it. She said she didn't even need the internet to feel the item's arrival and questioned if it wouldn't be bad if someone else got it. However, he said he wasn't very interested because having a pet was much cuter. With that, he took something out of his pocket and handed it to her. She asked if it was some special and extremely expensive food. He said it was almost that, but actually he had almost infinite amounts of it from the system because the previous owner never spent anything. She took it and stored it in a jar, making him ask if she didn't like the gift. However, she responded that she only liked to eat when watching a movie or reading a novel. He got confused and said he was leaving to avoid risking revealing her identity. Then he remembered there was another way to communicate and asked if she could add him as a friend. She said yes, and his phone rang immediately. There appeared the photo of a girl with white hair and a purple horn. He knew this name was the same as the Academy's founder from hundreds of years ago, and clearly, she was a direct ancestor. The question remained if she would have that appearance when in human form. She asked if there was any problem, and he said no, that he'd come back tomorrow. This warrior could soon turn into a woman to stop being a deer with a red face. 3 days passed, and the Moon King showed no interest in that spear. Because of that, the line to the item kept growing. The girl slammed the table, saying it was foolish for them to be there and warned them to sign the responsibility waiver because if they died, it wouldn't be her fault. She said she was tired of being there until the black whale guy appeared, and she asked if he had improved. He said yes and offered to take care of it so she could relax a bit. She said if that was the case, she would leave it to him then, while thinking that if he wanted the spear, he better forget it. The girls approached and asked the black whale guy if he felt better. He said he had already recovered while thinking about someone's arrival. He knew the dream had sent a message and wanted to see the person's image. Then a girl in a black cloak approached. As she handed over the form, he saw a tattoo on her hand. She looks for a second, and he stands there trembling, sure that it is she who was sent. In another region, someone is curious about the beasts sent from the stars. A completely blue girl says the aura is stunning and that now that she has seen it, she is impressed. A blonde guy behind her asks if she finally understands. If a creature not from the light of the moon enters that place, it will be instantly destroyed. 2 other women there say it's a foolish dream. The blue girl says she understands. She will send other members of the order there but will keep an eye on the fools who go. When she leaves, the other women say she is repulsive. The blonde guy approaches and tells them to calm down, that they need to choose who will enter that place. He explains that entering with a supreme ranking creature would make the spear resist. This means that only beasts below the supreme rank and those favored have any chance. The redhead wonders if this is the reason why the Lunar King has not gone there. When someone behind says they have arrived, they turn and seem worried. All the cadets are eager to try, but they know it is dangerous. The girl looks at the blue girl, who stares back. She then announces to everyone that they will enter the crescent moon domain. First, the consciousness of that item is almost invincible. Second, if it awakens and attacks, basically everything will be disintegrated. Our boy is there getting the information too, that although it has life, it cannot communicate. The white flower is sending a message explaining that it is better for all these people to give up. And our boy finds it ridiculous that a sleeping item will kill everyone who gets close. He asks if the item never wakes up, and the white flower says yes, but not on its own. She asks if he is not going to try, and the poor guy wonders why he would do something so risky. If anything went wrong, it would destroy his image for everyone. Then he seems to have an idea and stands up. Among the cadets, the girl is there in disguise, noticing that the Lunar King is not around. Touching the mountain, she says that if it is what she thinks, there is a chance to win. And as soon as she obtains the crescent moon, she will kill all the tamers in that area, so that no information spreads. She receives a message on her cell phone and discovers that the Lunar King is heading that way. She gets confused, wondering why this is happening right now. When the instructor asks what she is doing with the communicator, saying that if she gets distracted there, she will end up dying without even realizing it. The girl just looks and then leans in, apologizing. The girl then leaves, saying it is good for her to go back and give up on this. However, the other girl thinks that as soon as she gets the crescent moon, she will torture her to death. The instructor explains to everyone that they will receive teleportation stones. The moment they are broken, they are taken out from inside. And she explains that if they see the crescent moon awakening, they should get out right away or they will end up dying. The one is they're just thinking that as soon as the king arrives, things will get complicated. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl thinks it's ridiculous for them to try something like this, especially since Empress Kang Yu herself tried and failed. Seeing that there are a bunch of 3-star tamers, she finds it impossible. However, she notices something strange. The girl had her back turned and turned around at the same moment. She felt something and hid behind the tree instantly, wondering why there was a master tamer in the middle of the academy. Meanwhile, people started crossing the barrier. The woman thought she had to resolve this before the Moon King arrived. It was then that the blue-haired girl called out to Yu, who was the instructor. She said that only the Moon King could do something and asked why there were so many weak people there. Yu asked why she didn't try to tame this supreme-level creature. They stared at each other, and the blue-haired girl realized the instructor seemed unaware of the other girl. That's when everyone turned around. The Moon King was arriving, and they wanted to know what he was doing there. Yu asked if he was going to try to tame the creature, and the others questioned that he might end up awakening the weapon. However, the instructor said they were ignorant, and that if he was there, it was because he was sure he could tame it. In reality, Su Lang just wanted to touch the book to see if it would release her. But as soon as his foot touched the barrier, the book updated immediately. Something called Silent Libra of Supreme Rank appeared, an extremely strong and rare attribute that lower-ranked beasts couldn't even sense. Su Liang was excited that it was something of the supreme rank, but immediately withdrew his foot. He seemed to be hesitating, and people were wondering why he stopped there. He pulled out his phone, and they were confused. Yu then asked if he had a problem, and he smiled, questioning why she let the Black Moon insects enter that place. People were surprised, and he walked in saying that from now on, the twin moons would rule that place and he would take care of everything personally. People were still shocked by the information about the Black Moon, and the blue-haired girl knew it was probably the one she had faced. People were now worried about the students who had entered, but Yu said they had the teleport stone, so they were safe. Our boy, on the other hand, was hesitant to enter because of the Silent Libra. If the Black Cult used something like that, it meant they really believed in its power. The situation was dangerous. If it were the old him, he wouldn't have had the courage. However, strangely, ever since he transmigrated, he seemed to be changing. With that, he threw himself in without hesitation, and the black shark guys seemed worried about the serpent girl. Yu said it made sense, and he mentioned he was running there to save everyone. However, the women commented that ending up like this, he wouldn't do much. The instructor noticed he was acting very strangely, and wondered why he was like that today. The guy was excited until he touched the barrier and got hit by an explosion. Everyone was startled, and he wondered what was happening. Then a girl with 50 bells tied to her appeared, saying he had no chance. From the tattoo on her thighs, the guy knew she was from the Twin Moons sect. She asked if anyone had heard His Highness's order. This girl must make a lot of noise every time she takes a step. She said that as long as she was there, no one would enter. The black shark wondered if she already knew about the Silent Libra. Inside, the serpent girl was walking around. She had been there for 10 minutes and still hadn't located the spear. The weak ones who had entered with her were already all gone. At least now, no one would interrupt the plan. Suddenly, she felt something, a tremendously powerful aura that she was sure couldn't be wrong. Her eyes shone when she finally located the spear. She was excited, thinking she hadn't made a pact even with the Silent Libra. She had saved herself for this moment and approached, saying the spear wanted her. She was sure it had rejected the others because they were born as empresses, and said the spear must be the kind that liked to be appreciated. Then, acting all cute, she said she might not be very powerful, but as a rank 6 tamer, she would certainly admire that spear a lot. With that, she ran to grab it, saying she would never treat it badly. However, as soon as her hand approached, a light radiated, and an energy prevented her from touching it. She wondered how it was possible that she was rejected. She was sure she was the most suitable person for it. So why had it gone wrong? Meanwhile, others there seemed to recognize her, and one guy said he knew she was the one who had defeated 20 people from his sect. He remembered she had even killed one of his brothers. With that, everyone said they would end her and take the crescent moon. However, she started laughing like a madwoman, and people were confused. She began saying she was already in a bad mood because she had been rejected, and now this bunch of trash wanted to die. With that, she summoned her creatures. A monster that was a moon-filled mist, and a creature flying atop a whale. People realized they were all high-rank beasts. She told them to stop praising and show the creatures they had, or everything would go to hell, and ordered the monster to attack. After defeating everyone's creatures, she turned to the crescent moon and asked if it had seen that. The power she possesses is far greater than she can imagine. However, the spear remains silent. She starts to get angry until someone says she's a piece of trash from the Black Moon. It's our boy, laughing at her and all the anxiety she carries. She turns, recognizing him as the Lunar King, and asks why a 1-star is there alone, saying that even though he has an emperor-ranked creature, he himself is still very weak. Su Liang keeps laughing. He knows the girl must think he can't summon a creature because of the Silent Libra, so he says that the serpent seat is correct. A simple emperor can't do everything alone. However, the result here would remain the same with or without the Libra. He warns that before the twin moons arrive, she should break the stone and flee. The serpent girl is shocked to realize he already knew about the Libra but still entered. She doesn't know now whether to flee or to attack him. Su Liang walks calmly. All he needs to do is touch the spear once, the weapon that once managed to cut a star. When he's about to touch it, someone tells him not to think about doing that. It's the serpent girl who sends an attack. All her monsters barrage towards our boy. However, a simple wall blocks everything and she is confused. She has no idea how he did that without even summoning a beast. Our protagonist almost died of a heart attack. Even though the lake girl doesn't have attack power, at least her defense is quite strong. The serpent starts losing her mind and says enough is enough, warning that without an emperor-rank creature, he is nothing. Abyss starts bleeding and a pentagram appears at her feet, ordering the devouring demon king to appear. Dark clouds gather in the sky and everyone trembles. Even the protagonist is afraid of that energy, and our boy knows the crescent spear can't notice the existence of that monster because of the Libra. A giant snake appears and she says he's going to be eaten now. However, our boy stands there without any expression and she doesn't understand why he seems so indifferent. Why does he seem unconcerned in front of a supreme rank creature? However, he's only doing this because he read on the internet that when an animal is big, you have to stare it in the eye to scare it. The girl says enough, if he won't summon, he will die, and orders the creature to attack. The monster slams into the ground and leaps at him. He stands stoically, not moving a muscle. Since the lake girl hasn't consumed all she can, he decides to leave this job to her. The entire place explodes, and when the smoke clears, he's standing there intact. He seems confident, but inside he's thanking the heavens for surviving. Considering the strength of the attack, she would need much more power to break through the barrier. She collapses to the ground, wondering if this is the legendary favor of the lunar god. Our boy leaves, saying she doesn't need to hurry. Once he gets the crescent lands, he'll deal with her. She concludes he wasn't fighting her because he was more concerned with the item, while wondering if his shield could withstand a lance attack. With that, she disables the silent Libra ability. Instantly, the lance senses the copper's presence and awakens. Someone grabs the lance and pulls it from the ground. Apparently, it has a humanoid form too. If the deer was already madness, now it even has romance with the weapon. Seeing the dangerous and the powerful girl appear, everyone starts running in panic. Feeling the energy, Su Liang hopes at least the lake girl can resist it. However, she warns in his consciousness that there's at most a 1% chance of blocking such an attack. He thinks this is madness and wonders how the snake girl planned to survive this. Looking beside him, he sees she has hidden herself among her creatures. The crescent moon then leaps towards him. He stands there knowing there's no way to escape this now. As he turns to say something, we see a few minutes ago, Kat is reported being attacked by the woman inside and questioned how the academy let someone like that slip through. The blonde finds it odd that he was stranger is that the woman outside seems very calm. Why doesn't she seem concerned about the Lunar King's safety? Then suddenly, she also feels something. She mourns that the crescent moon seems to have been awakened. Everyone is shocked and she advises them to run because anyone staying there will die. She also senses another aura and wonders if it has something to do with the Emperor. In the midst of the battle, our boy doesn't know what to do. In 3 seconds, this attack will hit and he will die. Remembering the era of technology, he pulls out his phone in 1 second, sends a message and warns the white flower that he needs help. The crescent moon is about to hit him, and at the final moment, he reaches out. And I thought something peculiar was happening. But in reality, there was an explosion throughout the place. Everyone was thrown back and wondered if it was the Emperor's doing. They were unsure if the Lunar King had died, and in the midst of the smoke, nothing could be found. Some time later, the snake girl began to emerge from the midst of her serpent, wondering what had happened. She saw that the crescent moon was calm again, and wanted to know where the Lunar King had gone, if he had really been killed by what she awakened. She became emotional, thinking that she was the one who defeated the Lunar King. She starts off by saying that Idiot was looking at his phone at the last moment and shouts to the heavens that she was the one who defeated the Great King. Excitedly, she turns to the crescent moon and declares that it's hers now. However, strangely, the item awakens again. She knows that this worn-out snake won't be able to resist. In the midst of the smoke, our boy emerges. She finds it impossible that he not only survived, but doesn't seem to have been affected at all. That's when she notices a giant paw on his back and wonders what that is. The creature touches almost the clouds. It was too big for supreme rank, but if it were Emperor, everyone there would know about that thing. She starts trembling with a crystal in her hand. However, she decides it's not yet time. Even if she dies, she wants to know what the Lunar King's beast is. After all, that's the information everyone has been wanting to discover. Gradually, it reveals itself as a supreme rank creature, known as the Cloud Walker who follows the moon. Almost a direct reincarnation of the ancient goddess. The girl falls to the ground wondering how that's possible. That was a monster at least 4 or 5 times larger than her creature. Because in terms of size, her creature is the largest of the Black Cult. And the strangest thing is the 1-star tamer being able to use all the creature's power. Our boy is there, happy to have survived. He didn't imagine it would really grow so large. and the worst part is he has no idea how it teleported in a second and saved him. Moreover, the girl on its back is probably the ancestor. The white flower then tells him to dominate the crescent moon quickly or she'll be cut in half. Our boy is confused, he thought she was stronger. However, she says he must have a plan to have sent her there. That's when he remembers that being hit directly counts as body contact. This means he'll be able to see the details in the lunar book. He instructs the system to open the book and discovers a like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.